This video is brought to you by Nebula. Today, counter-protests take place across the UK. Hundreds of Ukrainian troops move into Russia, and police in Barcelona shut the city down in an attempt to capture separatist leader Carles Puigdemont. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Thursday the 8th of August 2024. After more than a week of violent riots across the UK, many were expecting things to get even worse last night. More than 100 events across the country were expected, with police braced for further violence. What ended up happening, though, were large amounts of largely peaceful demonstrations against the far right and against anti-immigrant rioters. Many of the rallies were adorned with placards that read, "Refugees are welcome here." In Liverpool, hundreds of people gathered outside an asylum office in support of refugees and immigrants. In Bristol, around 1,500 counter-protesters gathered. And in Newcastle, around 1,000 counter-protesters took over the pavement in front of the Beacon Centre, where immigration service business had been on a list of expected targets. Many of these protests occurred without incident, to the extent that they've been praised by senior figures in both politics and policing. The Metropolitan Police Chief, Sir Mark Rowley, said that the fear of extreme right disorder was avoided in London thanks to a show of unity from communities. He added that, "We put thousands of officers on the street, and I think the show of force from the police and, frankly, the show of unity from communities together defeated the challenges that we've seen." Similarly, London Mayor Sadiq Khan praised the counter-protesters. He stated that, "To those who came out peacefully to show London stands united against racism and Islamophobia, thank you. To our heroic police force working to keep Londoners safe, thank you. And to those far-right thugs still intent on sowing hatred and division, you will never be welcome." There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing tomorrow. Plus, if you want to support the channel like Big Red, then consider joining the new TLDR membership program for just $1.99. Now we bring you an update on Russia's war in Ukraine. On Tuesday morning, hundreds of Ukrainian troops were reported to have launched a cross-border raid into Russia's Kursk region, where intense battles are now taking place. Telegram channels affiliated with Russia's defense ministry have claimed that Ukrainian troops are in control of 3 villages in the Sudsta district of Russia's Kursk region, which borders the Sumy region of northeast Ukraine. Initially, Russian sources said the incursion had been repelled, but on Wednesday afternoon confirmed the attack was still ongoing. According to Russian Army Chief of Staff Valery Gerasimov, about 100 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed in the fighting and more than 200 have been wounded. But the question many military analysts are asking is, why, when Ukraine is struggling for manpower, would it send hundreds of soldiers into Russia? Well, some military analysts have suggested it's less likely to be an attempt to occupy territory in Russia and more likely to be a tactic to divert Russian troops away from fronts in eastern Ukraine, such as the Donetsk region. Military analyst Mikhailo Zyrikov told the BBC that Russia had been forced to redeploy some troops to Kursk from the front line in eastern Ukraine, and that there was significantly fewer Russian glide bombs dropped in the Donetsk area as a result. We'll bring you further updates from the Russia-Ukraine border as the events develop. Barcelona has been locked down by Catalan police in a bid to capture separatist leader Carles Puigdemont, who appeared briefly this morning to address supporters in the city before vanishing. 7 years after fleeing Spain to avoid arrest for organising a Catalan independence referendum deemed by Madrid as illegal, Puigdemont reappeared in Barcelona in front of hundreds of cheering supporters this morning outside the Catalan parliament. Speaking to the crowds of supporters, the separatist leader said, "In spite of their best attempts, we're still here." After ending his speech on a tantalising note, essentially saying he's unsure when he'll return, Puigdemont was quickly then hurried away, and then seemingly disappeared from the scene. In what's been dubbed Operation Howler, meaning cage, Catalan police are stopping and searching vehicles heading towards the French border, and there were traffic controls around the city centre following reports that Carles Puigdemont was seen leaving in a car. Highways have also been blocked. Puigdemont's allies are criticising the government's move to try and arrest him as undemocratic. For context, this year Madrid passed an amnesty law which essentially pardoned most separatist leaders of the 2017 referendum. Catalan elections were called, and Puigdemont from exile led Junts to second place, and Puigdemont promised he would return for inauguration of the new president, as a formal member of the Spanish parliament. Spain's Supreme Court said, however, they would not comply with amnesty in Puigdemont's case, who still faces trial on accusations of embezzlement, meaning he faces an active arrest warrant. Outside of Spain, some politicians, such as Romanian MEP Siegfried Mureșan of the centre-right European People's Party, have also weighed in their opinions. Mureșan wrote on X, "Politicians who break the law should be held accountable, not be allowed to deliver speeches." Should Puigdemont be arrested, he'll likely be transferred to Madrid to appear before the Supreme Court, when a judge will decide whether to send him to prison until trial or release him on bail. In other news, 3 Taylor Swift concerts in Vienna were cancelled late on Wednesday after Austrian authorities uncovered a terrorist plot linked to the so-called Islamic State. 2 arrests have been made, with the main suspect being a 19-year-old Austrian citizen who made an oath of allegiance to the Islamic State group, according to Austria's General Director for Public Security, Franz Ruff. Ruff said the suspect had been monitored after making that oath and had begun stockpiling explosive material. A search of his residence showed concrete preparatory actions, and chemical substances and technical devices were seized. Ruff confirmed that a second arrest had been made without providing further details, but said, "We are of course investigating their wider surroundings," though the threat had been minimised by the arrests. Nearly 200,000 Taylor Swift fans were expected to attend the series of 3 concerts in the Austrian capital, and Barracuda Music, which organised the event, said tickets would be refunded within the next 10 days. It's not the first time that Austria had been targeted in an IS-linked attack. In November 2020, 4 people were killed in a mass shooting that authorities said was carried out by an Islamist terrorist. In the final uplifting story today, we discuss how sea otters are helping to keep kelp forests healthy simply by eating sea urchins. The otters are eating the hedgehogs of the sea that overpopulate the seafloor and destroy entire kelp forests. When these forests disappear, it disrupts the food chain, as it takes away the animals that live among them, which in turn takes away food resources for bigger sea animals like whales and sea lions. This can even be costly to the climate, as the kelp forests temporarily store roughly 20 times more carbon per acre than wooded forests on land. So, thanks to these 4-legged carnivores, the population of sea urchins is kept in check, and the kelp forests are thriving. Keep diving deeper into this and other news stories over on Nebula, where the TLDR team curates the most important news videos from around the world, saving you from a deluge of bad news and helping you pay attention to what really matters. That means no more feeling out of touch. On Nebula News, the TLDR team acts as your guide through the media landscape, sharing the news we're paying attention to, helping you find stories that matter, and avoiding burnout. If you don't know already, Nebula is the streaming service that we co-own with a bunch of your favourite creators. There you can watch original content like Real Life Law's incredible series War Room, which every month runs you through a whole load of ongoing conflicts, keeping you in the loop. You can also watch every TLDR video on Nebula ad-free, and in many instances before they land on YouTube. If you're not a member already, then click the link in the description to sign up now. If you do, you'll get 40% off an annual plan by using our link. Plus, Nebula will know you came from us, which really helps us out. We've got some really great feedback from existing members, so I hope you enjoy all the effort we're going to with Nebula News.